Glasses. I think we're live.
I think we are live. We're now streaming on YouTube. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly on Thursday, the 9th of April, 2020. Clearly, I'm stalling as we get our technical stuff ready in this era of Zoom and YouTube. While I'm doing that, we've got a smaller panel with us tonight. Maybe the rest of the panel want to introduce themselves. Starting, we'll go west this time. We'll start in the west.
Hi, Derek O'Donoghue over here in San Jose in California.
That's the most in-depth introduction you've ever given.
I know. Hi, Vanessa here, and I'm coming from the sunny southeast.
Is in Carlo?
Sunny southeast of Dublin.
Yeah, I'm within 2 kilometers of my front door.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
And I'm Neil Curran in Dublin. That's all I have to say about that. So we have apologies tonight from John Ryan, who is working hard behind the scenes to get the site ready for tomorrow. Johnny Keenan is also tied up, and Luke Brennan is busy doing stuff in Portugal. He's probably planning for his wedding. That's it. Vanessa,
I'm
Vanessa
looking
knows all the
forward.
gossip.
He's not sharing the wedding plans with me. All I know is that I'm invited.
You've invited yourself.
Well, yeah. What's wrong with that?
So, as we look to what's going on in the world, we still have the coronavirus. A lot has happened in the last 7 days.
The sun is in my eyes.
It's the blurriest I've ever seen you, Vanessa. Some might say it's an improvement watching you in a blurred view.
Is it? I don't know how to fix it. Look, I got it to this far, so that's an achievement. Given that text messaging is about the height of it for me.
Now we can see the reflection of your screen and your sunglasses. So now
I know. I've just seen that there now.
Inappropriate sites. Anyway, so yeah, it's a lot's happened in the last 7 days in the world of coronavirus. Derek, what's been happening in sunny California?
Well, more or less the same. The new Republican line is that all these deaths are people on their last legs. Do you remember Bill O'Reilly? He got fired from Fox News. He's been back in the news the last couple of days, and he's been saying that all these deaths are, there are people on their last legs. It's and the narrative on Fox News is like they're recording all these cases, but all these people are dying from other diseases anyway, and it's not all Corona-19. So that's their new angle of attack. It's unbelievable how these people can think the way they think and how they can spin the way they can spin. But that's what they're pushing at the moment. That it's all exaggerated. It's all these deaths are people were going to die anyway. They're all old people. And they're just so cynical and so nasty. It's absolutely horrible. The other big thing is the figures are coming out of how, again, poor people, the African American community, are the ones who are suffering the most. Same as every other time there's a major catastrophe like Hurricane Katrina, it's always the poor, always the minority communities, the African American community that suffer the most. Trump is still giving these press conferences day in, day out. It's comical. He basically says absolutely everything, so he covers all bases. So then he can always say, "Well, I said that before." So he's going from, if we get less than 100,000 deaths, we'd have done a great job, to saying things like he wants the country back open again. So he contradicts himself in every press conference, but that's not new from Trump. But he gives enough for the base to lap up and to be able to latch on to one or two things that he might have said that may turn out to be correct or may not turn out to be correct, but he's covered all these bases anyway. On a personal note, I discovered a spinning bike, and locked in the house here. I bought a budget spinning bike, $350, and I downloaded the Peloton app, and it's 90 days free, right? And it's been a game changer for me. It's absolutely incredible.
So you're doing the Tour de France virtually, like?
Virtually, yeah. I wonder, can I...
And do you have the lycras and everything?
Can you see? There's my bike.
That's $350.
Yeah, and there's me screen, and I put the classes up onto the screen and work away.
And are you doing the thing, with the wiggling the bum and everything?
I'm trying. I keep saying to Pam, my wife, that I feel like somebody's is pinching my arse constantly now. We go for a walk in the evening time, and it feels like literally there's somebody just massaging my arse or getting a little needle and sticking in both cheeks.
See, this is how it starts. First there's a pandemic, then you get a spin bike, then your wife makes comments about your arse on the spin bike, and who knows what'll happen next.
Well, we'll see.
Give us a demo. Give us a demo there, Derek.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now.
He won't have anyone to hold his phone. So
how many miles, how many kilometers have you done already?
I started off, I did 20 minutes the first day, 20 minutes the second day.
No, not minutes. There, you could have been sitting there for all.
And the last 3 days I've been doing 45 minutes. Last 4 days I've done 45 minutes. So, but
that's not kilometers. That's not miles or kilometers or feet.
I told you it was a budget bike, so I don't have a mileage thing on it. I'm just tracking my heart rate, and it's like I'll be able to get my heart rate up to 170, up to 180, and that's been great, So
we might recognize you next week.
Well, we'll see.
Well, you'd have to show us your arse.
A before and after picture, maybe.
Well.
So sorry, Derek, go ahead.
Genuinely, the app is really, really good. I've been impressed. You probably saw all the ads for Peloton over Christmas, and there was this
Peloton. I did, yeah. There
was this big controversy about some guy. The ad was that some guy got his wife a bike for Christmas, and Twitter exploded with Peloton for the husband getting his wife a bike for Christmas. That's disgraceful. But genuinely, right, the app, I have it a week now, and there's way more than cycling on it. There's like running and walking and yoga and all sorts of stuff. Really, really good classes. It's definitely worth checking out. And it's 90 days free. The app is free for 90 days, and then after that, then it's $12 a month or something like that.
Do you want to pay promotion now, Derek? Because if you're on a paid promotion, we have to slap that on the video.
No, well, they haven't given me anything yet, but maybe if they hear this, they might throw a check my way,
So just on a serious note then, Derek, in terms of the isolation and the impact that has on our mental health, are you finding that the spin, like the exercise is releasing those endorphins and having a positive effect? Or
it's pinching his arse.
It sure is. I know it's great. It definitely does release the endorphins. Look, I mentioned last week, I'm a social person. Like I love a good handshake and I love a good hug.
It's banned now, I heard.
Oh, I'll never be able to handshake anybody again.
Fuji or whatever.
When I meet somebody, I like to give a hug and I like to give a big squeeze. And I tell you miss that physical interaction. We have a couple of groups where we do like house parties, and it's good. It's like the technology is fantastic. It's great to be able to chat to people, but it's not the same as like actually physically meeting up. And as humans, we're social animals, and we need that connection with each other, and the physical contact, just a high five or shake hands, or I'll say a hug, pat in the back, kick in the arse, whatever.
Yeah.
You need that. But definitely being active and doing a bit of exercise is good. I've been trying to, before the virus hit, I've been trying to lose weight. the family had a thing going with a WhatsApp group where we're trying to do a 100-kilometer walk each month, or 100 kilometers, either walking or jogging or whatever. And every time I tried to go jogging, I was getting shin splints. If I tried to do short, fast runs, I was doing hamstrings. My back was hurting me. So I wasn't able to get the heart rate up, even though I was getting the distance in. But since I got the bike, I've been getting the heart rate up, and that has been really, really good for me now to be able to do that.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So basically what you're saying was you used to make excuses and now you've no excuse.
No excuse. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, Vanessa, so things have happened in Ireland in the last few days where we're not only under lockdown, but we're under an enforced lockdown where the Gardaí are out en masse since yesterday.
Are they en masse though? I haven't seen any.
Well, I hit a checkpoint tonight, actually checkpoint yesterday and a checkpoint tonight, or earlier today, doing the shopping. And there was no issue, they just asked. Now, both of the checkpoints were outside of the shopping centre, which kind of would suggest that most of the traffic, if not all, is going to be coming to or from the shopping centre.
Yeah.
But it was a simple question of where are you coming from, where are you going, and that was that. I do know of someone who is working as an essential service and travelled from the suburbs into Dublin City today, all legit, all considered essential service, and was stopped 4 times. And the first time when he was stopped, he was quite open about what he was stopped for, and he was challenged on it, which I found interesting. And he said it was a few minutes of questions on it. And then when he hit the next checkpoint, he just said he was coming from the supermarket, and they just let him on his way. So, which I just thought was interesting. But it kind of, we've been told that most people are complying, but there's also kind of a necessity, and there was talk about the Dubs going to the holiday homes and the rural TDs kicking up. So what's been your take on it, Vanessa? And are you happy to see this enforcement in place?
Well, I can understand why. I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but I can understand why they have checkpoints to stop the exodus at what is, to all intents and purposes, midterm, even though the kids have been out since Paddy's Day. When you're reading anecdotally, from the sort of more seasonal towns, like say British, where my own mobile home is, they're not set up to cater for the summer season. So there's no extra GP on, or the pharmacies aren't open longer, or the shops aren't stocked. So I suppose in one way, there's sort of the logistics of their population doubling or tripling when they're not usually used to expecting that size, that movement until June, July. So there's I suppose there's that to consider. But based on everything we're learning now over the last 4 to 6 weeks, it seems that the spread happened because of people traveling. Like in Italy, it was all located in northern Italy around the ski resorts. And when they said they were introducing a lockdown at midnight, people just did a runner and they spread it. Same in Spain, when they said they were introducing a lockdown, people just ran from Madrid and the bigger cities back to their holiday homes around on the costas. So I suppose this is anecdotal. So I could see where they were asking people to stay at home, because you're spreading it out of your own house. I mean, they have asked people to stay at home, and they've asked people not to go to work. They have subsidized that, and I mean, they've asked people to do it. Either do it or don't. Now, whether there was need to sign in legislation, I'm not sure. That I thought that was a bit heavy-handed, but I mean, the guards are out in checkpoints and they're sending people home. I'm not sure that really needed the signature and legal and statutory enforcement, but they've done it.
There is very serious civil liberties implications for those type of measures, and obviously the most important thing is to get this virus under control, and people's health is so important. You can't fight for civil liberties if you're dead, obviously.
Yeah, Jerry, but yeah,
I just think that you have to be very careful when these draconian measures are introduced, because there is a sort of drift towards authoritarianism. I'm not accusing the government of Ireland of being authoritarian, but when you look at like what happened in Hungary, I mean, there's an actual dictatorship in the European Union.
Yeah.
Democracy abolished and ruled by decree.
Yeah.
Now we're a long way from that, and I'm not trying to conflate the two. But I'm just saying, like there are civil liberty concerns about police restricting people's movement and people's ability to assemble and all that sort of stuff. I know the virus is the most important thing. We have to get that under control. I appreciate that, but we still have to be vigilant of our civil liberties and our rights as a democracy.
Yeah, there's a risk of that, and you know that's been very high-handed with it as well. They've asked people to stay at home. The fact that they felt the need to introduce legislation and give it a statutory boot under it is a worry that they had to do that. But then I'm sort of a bit flimsy as well, because I actually think they introduced the lockdown too quickly myself, because they basically they brought in the lockdown so the health services could cope, but they hadn't the testing regime ready. The health services weren't even ready themselves for the influx between the PPE and, you know, the staffing and the testing. And so I wonder, was it a bit unfair at getting us to step down and lock behind doors with this story about the health services, and, you know, so the health services can manage the stream of patients that they're expecting, when the health service wasn't ready first. I would have thought they would have focused on getting the health services ready to deal with whatever was coming down the line, rather than having us all behind closed doors at the same time. So I think they could have given us another week before they shut us all down.
Well, I'm not sure, because people are saying
maybe
that,
not. But Paddy's Day was probably a trigger anyway. That was that just attracts far too many visitors in. And then you sent me the thing about New Zealand where they had the complete closed borders. Maybe that was something we should have considered from day one. If we'd have considered that from day one, at that point, then you could have slowed down the full lockdown. You know,
our borders are closed.
The doctor,
no, but that's my point, Neil. If they had closed down the borders and stopped that, and stopped even arrivals and ferries coming in, the first death was the 29th of February. From that moment, or the first confirmation was the 29th of February. From that moment, if they had to shut down the borders, they could have closed down, they could have slowed down the need for this full lockdown. Because one thing I'm learning now, and I suppose the last 24 hours or maybe 48 hours, I've realized it really, is that what this is happening, and it's not just in Ireland, it's worldwide, right? What I've noticed is that this is absolutely creating, or it's pushing absolutely out there without any vagueness or kind of there's no way you can't notice now about the massive inequality in our society, whether it's between those workers that are deemed essential, the shelf stackers and the delivery drivers and the taxi drivers and the bus drivers and cleaners. You know, they don't want rounds of applause. They want to be treated with respect. They want to be paid a living wage. They want, at the very least, they should be paid the average industrial wage, not minimum wage. If they're deemed essential, at the very least, it should be the average industrial wage. And you mentioned there about the poor in America, and when you opened in there, Derek, and you know, I'm seeing that it's absolutely those with poor immune systems, with sort of bad lifestyles. Not everyone is getting on the Peloton and stuff, but people with poor diets traditionally, you know, people that don't look after themselves, people that would, you know, would live unhealthy lifestyles.
Can't afford it.
They can't go to gyms, or they can't afford a better quality, or you know, they buy cheap, or they buy bulk, or they buy convenience food. they may not have a fridge, or they have proper cooking facilities, and you
A
know,
lot of
and
those underlying, a lot of those underlying.
they're all creating issues now, and I really do think that the social inequality worldwide, this is absolutely now proving that it has nothing to do with more and more people are working, or you know, that's not how the homeless figure at all. It's but we were putting people in, they're not homeless because they're in hotel rooms. All that is just all that's been now, as far as I'm concerned. You've created what you're calling essential services. Prove it. As far as I'm concerned now, that this gap, the sheer inequality worldwide between people, this absolutely has proved that. Whatever about all the hoax stories and the big pharma and developing the vaccine and you know, I don't want to go down that road, but there's no denying what this has absolutely done. Has shown that we have it's not just a 2-tier health service or 3-tier society or 4-tier. There's not. There are those that are equipped to cope with any eventuality out of their control that life throws at them, and there are those that can't, but they're expected to deliver the same services, the same day's work as everybody else, no matter what the crisis is. These people that are stacking shelves or driving lorries, delivering things, you know, delivering whatever, bread, they're still expected to deliver, despite the fact that they may have a family member who's in ICU, or that they can't go and see their children because they themselves are in isolation. They're still expected to deliver 110% for their employer. And yet, you know, they're not, when all this is over, or even 3 months ago, the guy was probably on a 0-hour contract. I don't know. I think it's pushing that should be our next discussion.
A couple of things there, right?
Where we go from here.
I agree with you completely. What I mentioned earlier on about the minority groups, the African Americans being overrepresented in hospitals and being overrepresented in the number of people who have died in the States. A lot of people have underlying conditions like asthma and these type of illnesses that are a result of poverty. You know, like I know that there's other ways of getting asthma as well, but a lot of the underlying illnesses that they have is because of the poverty that they live in. So they're already vulnerable, and that's why then they get hit by this as well. 16 million Americans have signed on for unemployment in the last 3 weeks. 16 million in 3 weeks. I noticed that in Ireland, Debenhams are closing down. They're not going to reopen their 11 shops. And I also noticed that there's a big increase in the number of houses that are back on the rental market. Seemingly, a lot of Airbnb landlords are now, they obviously don't have tourists, so there's all of a sudden there's a big increase in the number of apartments available for on Daft or whatever, My Home or whatever it is.
It's the same here, Derek, though. We've seen,
yeah,
you know, in the space of a couple of weeks, the number of properties available for rent in Dublin shoot up. And this is on the back of the legislation that was brought in to prevent the gouging of the rental market with Airbnbs. And it would make you wonder, an unpopular thing, but when this is all over, somebody should look at the Daft listings for February and look at the Daft listings for March, cross-reference it with those who are registered as Airbnb long-term renters. Shouldn't be that difficult a task, and then question everyone else who put properties up as to what the hell they were doing.
I just 3 things that's needed, right? People need to have a guarantee of a roof over their heads. People need to have a guarantee that if they get sick, they will receive medical care. And something I've mentioned over the last couple of conversations, this notion of some sort of a universal payment. People need to have some sort of a guarantee of an income. And like 16 million Americans in 3 weeks, they weren't hit by a laziness spell. You know, the government closed down the economy for health reasons. Likewise, the unemployment is going up in Ireland. People weren't hit with a laziness spell. You know, it's it was to no fault of their own. Same with the recession in 2008, when loads of people lost their jobs. It wasn't out of laziness or lack of work ethic. It was what the economy did. I think that there's three things that people need to try and deal with the inequality that's there: housing, healthcare, and some sort of basic payment. Then throw in education on top of that.
Yeah.
If you had those four things, you know, then you have a possibility of dealing with the inequality that's there.
Yeah, it's fair. It's a fair point.
Yeah, but you were talking about debenhams, so, and this kind of picks up from what I spoke about the last week, or the very first week we came back, Neil. But the debenhams was a business that was failing anyway. Do you know what I mean? What this has done is that those businesses that were on the edge or were in difficulty, this was actually going to be the final push to over the cliff. And that's an awful thing to say for people that are losing their jobs. But Debenhams is in a sector that was winding down anyway. It's a bit like the whale oil industry. You know it is in that industry. Sure, how many big retailers are gone? Mothercare. You look to America, how many big retailers have gone? You know,
and more are going to go.
Yeah,
I bought my exercise bike online, delivered with Amazon. You know,
yeah.
Amazon are taking over. That's just one thing. We bought chocolate bars, like get groceries delivered. You know, clothes being delivered. You name it. That's the way the world has gone. So,
yeah, but you see, what this whole thing is actually, whatever the cause, whatever the stories about it and how it happened and where it started and all this, right? What this has done is that it has absolutely kind of put an end to everything that wasn't going to survive another 5 or 10 years in terms of industry. They're the ones that are being found out.
The changes that were already in train.
They were, because we spoke about airlines. Airline is dead duck at the moment, right? But if you look at the airlines that were struggling, Virgin, Delta, they were struggling anyway.
Came across a
mainstream
quote,
media, everything. Everyone was telling me go out and buy newspapers. Jesus, I bought a newspaper on Sunday and I was sorry I bothered. You know, these are all businesses that were going anyway. And we were talking about the access to even healthcare. The need to have a universal healthcare system has now absolutely been proved.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about universal payments. Now is the time. Now this is all being found out now, and it took this virus.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the origin of it.
I saw a quote during the week. Sometimes decades happen and nothing happens, and then sometimes decades happen in a week, you know, or in a couple of weeks, you know. And I think we're going through a stage now where we're going to see decades worth of change in 4 to 6 months.
Well, we're seeing Spain is already going to introduce universal basic income on the back of what they're going through. Their lockdown has been extended till the end of April.
But they had universal healthcare anyway.
The healthcare in Spain is excellent. It's
the pharmacy is the pharmacy network is excellent.
Well, the pharmacies in many ways can operate to some extent like a GP, so you can get what would be considered prescription medication over the counter there, and it's subsidized. So you know, I think anyone who goes to Spain is already aware that people will buy their medication there, whether it's legal or not is up to someone else to decide. But you know, you go into a pharmacy there if you've got a common ailment, you know, and then they have their clinics, which are the kind of next step up. But the hospitals, I was in A&E in Spain in one of the holiday areas in Spain one time. And it wasn't alcohol related. It's funny how you have to say that when you're talking about A&E in Spain, but however, it wasn't alcohol related. But the service was second to none. I mean, you went in and there was a notice board in the waiting room that told you what the wait time was, but also told you what the wait time was in the A&E in nearby hospitals as well, so you could benchmark. But the wait time wasn't 8 hours or 10 hours. It was less than an hour. You know, in and out seen to. So that the healthcare in Spain is excellent. We're very far behind here, but we're further than you, Derek, in America.
We the checks, the 1,200 check. That
you have to pay it back. I heard.
I haven't heard that, Jim. But
give them your bike.
There's already calls, like, obviously, for that to be become a regular thing, like a monthly payment while this thing lasts. Of course, that's the question again: who's going to pick up the tab? Like, is that going to lead to runaway inflation? You know, what's the cost of it going to be? But it seems like something that needs to be done. Like, otherwise, everything just collapses. I mean, people can't pay their rent, people can't buy food. You're in total social unrest, and you know, it's a very difficult situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at our COVID-19 payment here, and so many people taking it up, these are temporary things, and we're in unprecedented times, which is, I know, is a cliche at this point. But you know, unlike the previous recession, you know, governments have an opportunity here because, you know, you can plan around this or plan for how we get out of this. Now, Vanessa is the celebrity accountant, so she can put some realism as to my idealistic view, but surely this is a recession we can plan for, or we can prepare for. We don't necessarily have to go down the austerity route to get through this. And given this is a worldwide issue, there has to be a level of acceptance that, you know, we're all in this together. The EU is getting a lot of stake over the handling of Spain and Italy. But one thing that seems to emerge, it's a pity we don't have Luke on tonight. One thing that we're seeing is that the EU is very bad at marketing the good work that they do. Like, you've seen a lot of that crap on social media about, oh, this will definitely be the push for Spain or Italy to want to leave Europe. But what the EU aren't sharing, which one of the Irish government ministers mentioned recently, I think it was a Fianna Fáil opinion writer on the journal.ie wrote a piece, and he talked about the specific funding that the EU had already been assisting Italy and Spain with, and that's not being very well publicized. But anyway, getting back to the point, there's opportunity here. You know, we know we're in this hole for the next while, and we can plan around that. Industries like the airlines and all that, they will recover. The media will recover. It's just how we plan that is key. So no doubt, again, you're a celebrity accountant, Vanessa, but in the same vein that we have expert panels talking and planning for how we get through the health crisis, there has to be expert panels looking at the economic ramifications and what we can do, surely on a European level anyway, at a minimum, as opposed to country level. But maybe
yeah, but Neil, it's very dangerous using the word expert all the time, because not that you were using it all the time.
If I do it like this, expert, would that make you feel better?
Yeah. Did anyone I find that uses the word expert, that kind of implies that they know everything, and you don't, you know, and
no.
Particularly in accountancy or even the economy and stuff, you're learning new things are coming in all the time. And so anyone who says they know it all, just forget, don't listen to them. What I would say is, I wouldn't say we're heading for a recession at all. I think we're in sort of in for an adjustment shock, because you have some people now who are coming onto the employment market as employees who have now become available, because let's just say the Debenhams is closing now, and I am, you know, I'm very disappointed for those 1,000 people, but they knew they were in a business that was winding down anyway, because Debenhams, since they took over Roaches, have been looking to get voluntary redundancies all this time. And
I mean, that was inevitable that would happen at some point.
So, and I'm sorry for the people who've lost their jobs today, but just to give it an example, you know, there in Debenhams, there's buyers, there's store managers, there's accountants, there's payroll people. They're now available on the employment market, you know. So there's new opportunities now for these people out there. There's new industries going to come out of all this, because because people will have, the people will have found business opportunities. Entrepreneurs will naturally always see, an opportunity appear that nobody, that wouldn't normally be in a business that would be an everyday business. Like say, that's what an entrepreneur does. They spot an opportunity and they develop it and they run with it. So I think there will be more work skills available there'll be bigger pools of candidates now available for posts that come available. I think people will see that they can work from home and they don't need to be in the office. So I think how the workplace is managed is going to change. I think the opportunities there, we're talking about the airlines. It's the survival of the fittest. Businesses will be better run. There will be less demand to pay shareholders dividends. They will be more keeping reserves. We see that AIB have cancelled their planned dividend. I think you'll see more of that going forward. More investing in the business rather than in paying dividends out to shareholders. I think we're going into a very new world in how we go about earning our living as well, because like as Derek says, even as people, and like the biggest hit so far has been, the biggest measure of this lockdown has been how much there's human labor in the workforce. It's not all fintech and robotic and artificial intelligence. How much is actually human labor? And the fact that is gone, that's been a huge impact. And I think it's been a huge realization for our employers, particularly the larger, big multinational employers, that they actually see that they rely so much on their human manpower. I do think the way we manage or how we earn our livings and our 9 to 5s will be very different when this all, over the next 12 months. I think that's going to be very different. And people will start to do other things. They might change jobs. They might move on. I don't think it's fair to call it what's coming down the line in the next few months a recession. I think it's literally a reboot and a renovation almost.
Do you really think, though? Sorry, Derek.
Go on, sorry.
No, go on. I was going to ask a question. No, go on. Make
the one thing, I think it will technically be a recession. Like there will be a reduction in GDP and a reduction in economic activity. But what you also have is you're going to have a huge pent up demand as well. Like people who are still getting a wage, and they can't spend anything. So there's going to be, once the restrictions are lifted, there will be a huge like pent up demand of people with money that's burning a hole in their pocket they want to get out and spend. Whether it's say changing the car, or whether it's like all those restaurants that meals out that you didn't get to go to while you're in lockdown.
Yeah.
So there will be that pent up demand that will actually be like rocket fuel for the economy when the restrictions are over. But I think as long as restrictions are in place, I think there will be an economic downturn. It will be a decline, but it won't. It's not in the same way as 2008. Because people will have their reserves that they will be able to use when the restrictions are lifted.
You see, in 2008, what you also had to look at was that they had to look at all their fixed assets and revalue them, because let's just say even property or even their sales book and their pipeline orders, their work in progress, that was all had to be revalued. So companies took huge hits that way. But also it was an economic recession. I think what the best way to look at 2020 is to look at your year as an 8-month year or a 6-month year, or however long this is going to be. It is that you have effectively a period of time that's been held in cold storage where there's no activity. you know, and you're saying about GDP. I think the way to measure GDP is to probably use it as it was, if it you know, the way they readjust figures seasonally,
Yeah.
you know, like Christmas, through an indexation calculation. I think that's what we're going to see 2020 as the years go forward, because there's no point in using your year ending 2020 and comparing it to year ending 2019, because it would be meaningless. And as accountants, we're obliged to do that. And there's no point in going into year 2021 and using year ending 2020 as your comparison. So you're going to have to adjust everything anyway. So I can see people looking back on 2020 or using their 2020 budget model or their expectation model or their report to their shareholders and their AGMs, and if they're looking to raise finance to investors and stuff, I think they look at it as an 8-month year or 9-month year, however long that their business was impacted.
But for the people who lost their jobs, they are taking a big income hit. It will feel very much like a recession for them if they have no job, and they still have the same bills coming in.
Yes, but you see, Derek, this is why it's very different this time, because in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, there was no new jobs coming into the Irish workplace.
Yeah.
There are still jobs. You see, you're saying people have lost jobs, and they have lost their current job, but that doesn't mean there isn't employment opportunities here. You see, I think you have to also look at it. There's a lot of experienced people now available on the job market. People should look at that. The economy is doing quite well. It is not a complete absolute, like 2008 actually, we were well into a recession then. Our recession started around 2006. They called it a credit crunch, and the savings schemes, what were they called again, Neil? The SSIAs. They hid it for a year because people were using that. So it didn't actually crystallize into a recession until 2008, but we were already into it. And actually what you saw up until 2012 was almost a depression. There was massive contraction. That's not the environment that's there today. Very different environment out there. So I think it's unfair to say there'll be a recession. People have lost their jobs, but that they're not losing their jobs in a jobless society, because there is opportunity there, and they are going onto the market with good skills, and there are opportunities for them. And the way we work is going to be very different. The way we learn is going to be different going forward, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will suffer though in that transition between losing one job and getting another job. So there's going to be that
we're all facing change. But Derek, we're all facing change. Like you were saying there, the difficulty of not being able to shake hands and give someone a hug or a big squeeze and stuff like that. We're all facing all sorts of change. It's not just in the workplace. We're all looking at that.
But the economic change is, I have a job, I lose my job, my income is down until I get a new job. There is a degree of pain there that does. And then as well, the government finances. Government are now having to spend money on things that they hadn't planned to spend money on. So their deficit is going to grow, and that's going to impact on what they can provide going forward as well.
But no government could have planned put this in their budget for 2020, you know. No government could have done that. But you see, I don't think it's hopeless for people that have lost their jobs. They feel heartbroken now, and they're going to miss their colleagues, and they might have been, like Debenhams came from Road to Stores. There could easily have been people there 30, 40 years, you know, and they're going to miss their colleagues, they're going to miss their routine, they're going to miss their employer, and they're going to miss what they did, and they might have loved their job, and you know, and I hope they did. But it's not hopeless out there for them. This isn't 2008.
Well, that's good news. That is good to hear.
So they're gonna hold you to that, Vanessa. So if it doesn't work out for them, they'll send you an email in a few months' time.
Well, probably, yeah. But I mean, it's in my financial interest for there to be a recession. I don't believe there is.
So can I ask a question to both of you then? Is the world of work really going to change after all this? I mean, we're going to
Yeah.
have that transition period when we do get back to the office and people be like, oh, that was terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then like most things in life, after 6 months, it's the distant memory and we get back into our routine. So what is going to change, or is it going to change? And if so, what is going to change? And it's not a tongue-in-cheek question, it's a genuine question.
I think people are going to realize they can work from home. That you don't necessarily have to be in an office. That's one big change. I mentioned again last week that book, that 21 Lessons in the 21st Century, and he's predicting huge changes in how people work. And it's not just the ordinary jobs. It's like my fitness instructor and my Peloton app. Here I have instructors here in my garage. Whereas before you had to go to a room or a studio or whatever to take a fitness class. Now you can take a really good fitness class using an app at home.
Hang on now, I'm going to interrupt you there. I'll tell you that because I'm doing online training at the moment, and my God, I'm telling you, it's not the same. It's not the same. Bring me back to the sweaty, smelly gym anytime. sorry, Derek.
Try the Peloton app.
Yeah, but Derek, I think people will organize their work very differently. They'll that they'll be a lot more efficient, knowing that they can take what they can do from home, or what they need to use the office for. Do you know what I mean? I think that'll be on people's minds a lot when they go back to work, whether they're working in the back office in the bank or insurance or in the tech business or whatever your activity is. I think people will always bear in mind, that they may need to have to work from home, or they may need to have to go into the office. I think people will plan things that way. I think the commute is gone. I think those days are over. In the long run, yeah.
Which will be good news too. And then that leads to the possibility of not having to live in an expensive city, being able to live in a smaller village, and that has knock-on effect on property prices, which would be good for people too.
Oh, we're not moving to Carlo though, Derek. We're not
well, we've been kind of canvassing for that for a long time, with the rural broadband rollout. I mean, I've always felt that people should be moving out of Dublin.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not moving to Carlo.
Johnny got a lot of it about Offaly last week. Well, Offaly has a patch on Carlo. Carlo actually is a sunny southeast.
He'd be shouting at you now if he was.
Bill Allen from the Weather Channel.
Speaking of holiday town getaways, there was the guards are looking into a matter in is it Connemara, in Clare, where somebody had printed out A4 sheets of paper and hung them up around Kilkee. Yes, it was Kilkee, and basically telling people that if your holiday home is not your home, so leave Kilkee. If you don't leave, you won't have a holiday home to come back to, something to that effect. And so, we obviously, with the pandemic, and understand the seriousness of all the rest, are we starting to see a nasty side come out in all this? I mean, almost like moral vigilantism.
Yeah, but
it's intimidation. It's bullying and intimidation. That's call it what it is. It's like there's no call for anything like that to be put up by anybody in a free democratic society.
I mean, even today in the media, I know Simon Harris said the new laws aren't about snitching on people, but I can't remember whether it was Houlihan or another minister early in the day said, if you see something, it might have been Tony Houlihan, said if you see something that goes against the restrictions reported to the Gardaí. So there's mixed messages from the head honchos. And when you look at the, board study and some of the social media, people are now asking the question about, grassing on their neighbours and ratting on their neighbours. And in many cases, it clearly is warranted. But again, it's this kind of, we're now becoming this moral vigilantism that we're now, we have to assume negative intention from the behavior of everything we see. There was a psychiatrist who was talking on the radio the other day, and she was talking about mental well-being, and if you have somebody who is in a very dark place and they're leaving the house, you're weighing up the risk of them being sick versus a worst case scenario for. So we're seeing this this almost behavior of assuming negative intention in the movement of other people, and to me that feels unhealthy. But perhaps that's just my perspective. I don't know what you guys take on it.
Yeah, do you know what? I actually have the mobile home, and no, it's only in Wicklow, so there isn't quite much of like a sort of a lot of people that down there are sort of, it's more South County Dublin, but when I was growing up in the caravan parks, my mother's, there was always a distinct locals and then the people in the caravan parks that came down for the summer, and there was always a barrier between them. The two never mixed, so there was always there has been traditionally in all these smaller towns that have now grown into tourist destinations, and people down from the city, taking over the place with their double parking and their big jeeps and the big fancy, boats and ribs and what have you. There has always been an element. There always been a standoffish relationship between both. So, but I did see that post. I think it was up on Broadsheet actually. Yeah, I mean, threatening to burn down somebody's holiday home is totally unnecessary. But I suppose a lot of the
Totally
smaller
deviation.
rural. Yeah, but Derek, you see, there has always been an awkward relationship between locals and the people that come blow in for the summer to their holiday homes or their caravans and mobile homes and whatever, right? But we come back to the sort of the Celtic Tiger, and an awful lot of rural towns and rural villages were devastated. Half-built ghost estates, holiday home parks that destroyed their scenery or were never finished properly, or they were taken in, they were bought by people that never used them. They were only bought for the tax relief. So there is an uneasy relationship anyway between
You
locals and.
You can't tolerate intimidation. You just
I'm not condoning it at all, but I'm just saying that there has always been an awkward relationship. And then following on, even going back to the 60s and 70s and 80s, there's always been an awkward relationship. But then following the Celtic Tiger and the sort of the development of beach resorts, lake resorts specifically, because they were more inland and they were left idle, or they weren't invested in, or they were just left to rot, or weren't finished. So the sort of the tax relief schemes.
Yeah, as a society, we can't tolerate intimidation, and it can't become the norm that we can put up posters threatening to burn people out of their homes.
No,
I mean that's going back to the Civil War days.
Well, it is, and burning their home is the total step too far. Total step too far.
Any sort of threat against somebody's person or property should not be tolerated. And I'd like to see the guards investigating that and getting to the bottom of who's responsible for those posters.
The guards are investigating it.
The full book of law should be thrown at whoever it is. I mean, that's like we won't have a democracy if we allow the bully to dictate. What. We mentioned earlier on we were worried or concerned about the state introducing a 2 mile or 2 kilometre restriction, but that's the lawful government who's passing a law in the Parliament. It's a legitimate thing that they can do, even though as they raise some concerns with it. But there's a mandate to do it. But some guy to come out or get girl or whatever it was, to put up a sign intimidating people, that's just we can't tolerate that. That just cannot be allowed to stand. That's a threat to our democracy.
But you know what, Derek? I'd say the people at Kilkee actually will police that themselves. They'll get to the bottom of that. And
I do know of somebody who lives in a coastal resort town, but drives a Dublin Reg car, and she was intimidated when she had her car parked and was intimidated by some local folk quite openly about the Dublin people coming down, shouldn't be parking their car there. So again, this comes into, this is people against people. It's where we do have a rule of law to respect, and we do have a desperate need to get out of the situation. It seems like we're overstepping, at times overstepping that mark in a less than civil way. People being dicks.
Yeah, if you allow bullies to get away with it, they will continue. It'll only grow. You know.
Well, let's hope that's not going to happen here, Derek. You know, let's hope they'll police it themselves in Kilkee and they'll put manners on whoever put that up.
No risk of that in California, Derek. Sure, all your homes are holiday homes.
Oh yeah, no riots down there at all. No riots.
Big fancy detached houses with swimming pools out in the backyard.
Have you a swimming pool out the back garden, Derek?
We live in a complex, and in the complex, so it's a townhouse, and there's 2 swimming pools in the complex. So
he's on his holidays in California.
Lads, we're not living at all, Neil.
Have you one of them out in Crumlin? Have you got a swimming pool out in your back in Crumlin?
I have a pothole.
You have a seasonal swimming pool. So
in fairness, the pool doesn't open until the 1st of May, so we haven't access to it at the moment. But from the 1st of May to the 31st of October.
And your arse will be nice and tight in your Speedos now, good.
Check out the Irish guy, he's back.
It's the Irish guy. Very good.
Well, there you have it. It's that time of the night when we look to lighter matters, and we look at, particularly in trying times like this, where we're stuck in front of our screens, and when Broadsheet on the Telly isn't on every night of the week, we're looking for other things to entertain us. But before we do get into some of the exciting entertainment, I think that we could have opened with this piece. We were lobbied to open with this, and John Ryan had to put his foot down and say we can't run with this as the opening discussion point. But Vanessa, you do have some news that you want to share with us. Go on, over to you.
I don't.
Of course you do. You have some news about the Bake-Off.
Oh, the Bake-Off. Oh yeah, hang on. Let me get my picture up. Sorry, the Bake-Off. Derek, there's. Do you know you have the Bake-Off over there?
Is that like the British thing, the British Bake-Off, or what's it called?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay, well, we have it here, but we followed the British one, right, with Paul Hollywood. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get up the photograph now. Huh? Yeah, the great big British Bake-Off. Okay. Yeah. So let me get the picture up now. But this year it's going into its 11th season, people, right? And if I put this up here now, will people know what's happening on Bake-Off 20 this year?
That's Little Britain. It's a bit blurry now. I told you it's a little blurry, but it's Little Britain, isn't it?
It is. Well, what's his name? Matt Lucas?
Matt
Lucas, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
He is taking over from Sandy Totsvig on Bake-Off.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch that show, so I'm putting on my best face.
Yeah.
Tell us what that means. What is the implications of that, Vanessa, and what impact is that going to have?
I don't know.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm a bit ticked off because I would have liked Sandy to keep it going, but I understand now. This could be. I don't really know the real truth as to why she's leaving. And I'm not a fan of gender quotas anyway. So I've never seen him on Bake Off, either as a guest judge or on Celebrity Bake Off. So, but when Noel Fielding was announced, I was really excited about that because I was kind of saying we're going to find out now what all his favorite bakes are and what his story with baking is. And we never got. That's not what he brought. What he brought was something totally endearing, and he was more connecting with the bakers at a different level than the previous team had, which was Mel and Sue, isn't it? Perkins, yeah, Mel Giedrick and Sue Perkins. So I don't know what is going to happen, but it's going to be worth looking forward to anyway in August.
We'll take your word for it. Speaking of baking, though,
yes, competition.
Yeah, is there a competition? Yeah,
there might be. Well, it was mentioned during the week, Derek. Just in case you don't know, we used to write up the Bake Off as a weekly column. And the first year we did it, I had great engagement. I didn't have not much fun the following year, which was anyway. But anyway, was asked during the week, or maybe it was last week, about doing a competition because everyone's at home now with and baking. There's no flour to be got in Dublin apparently now, with everyone trying the baking. So I was asked to do a competition. So this is the competition, folks. And if I show you what we're going to do, and then I'll tell you what you're going to win. Okay. But on Celebrity Bake Off, not the show just gone the week before with James Blunt and well, your man fainted in it, right? The other guy. You might remember the signature was a tray bake. Okay. And this is a tray bake. It's where you cook a whole tray of cake or biscuit, and then you cut it, okay? And everyone has a tray at home, so this, you do not have to buy a kit, and it can be any type of tray bake, as long as you can cut it into pieces. But in Bake Off last week, they had the signature had to be a tray bake, and it had to form a whole picture, and then you cut it into 12 pieces. So I'm going to ask people to do a tray bake. It can be as fancy, like, millionaire shortbreads, or it can be granola bars that you cut in, or it can be just a plain sponge with icing on it, as long as it forms a picture. And you can buy a kit. You don't have to be a baker. You can go and buy the sponge kits in the Aldi or the Lidl or the Duns or whatever. But if you do, I'm going to ask you to make a tray bake that's a picture. And the prize will be one of these posters. It's backwards, is it? Can you see that there, lads?
You are.
The Calvary.
We can see the part of it.
Yeah. So you'll get one of those posters. And unfortunately, you won't be getting a Star Baker thing. And you're going to get a Donald Trump doll. Can you see that?
This is a real competition, Vanessa. This is not a messing. Jesus.
Oh, no messing. No messing at all.
How do you get the picture on the cake?
Well, you could create it with icing.
It's going to be Matchstick Man in your case, Derek.
No, it could be Smarties. As long as it features like a picture, or it's a creation that you cut then into other pieces. Like you'll see cakes, the way you go into Tesco's and they have the big birthday cakes and they'd have it in the shape of a soccer pitch, and it's just a plain level tray bake, basically. And you just cut it into slices. So
recap us there, Vanessa, on the rules, the closing date. Give us a quick recap, bullet points.
Well, the closing date. Well, let's say next Tuesday, to have your recipes in by next Tuesday with a picture.
Do you want to say Wednesday? Because the show goes out on Thursday. Wednesday give you enough time.
All right, Wednesday then. You have to give the recipe and you have to have pictures. And I don't mind if people cheat and they buy, the sponge mix, because not everyone is a baker. As long as people try. And of course, there's those that are used to baking that are quite experienced. And they'll go all out and do, the triple layer biscuits and the homemade jam. Do
we need to get somebody to taste it?
Well,
I'll know by the recipe and by the cut.
And we don't actually have to have somebody taste it.
His first prize, first prize is a weekend away in your caravan in Wexford. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, and there's real prizes. There's Donald Trump.
There's a Donald Trump dolly.
And poster.
And the poster.
Wow. Well, this is a proper competition for Broadsheet on the Telly.
There you go. Actually, I think John Ryan's hair is like that at the moment.
Well, the show's going to be cancelled now. Thanks, Vanessa. So there you have it. Get it in by Wednesday. Get it in by Wednesday.
So a tray bake, everybody.
I started doing a bit of baking. I wasn't going out and panic buying flour, but I decided, what I've always wanted to do is make sourdough bread, because I heckin' love sourdough bread. And
are we going somewhere with this, Neil?
We're going to bakers to tell you all about sourdough. So I fell in love with sourdough bread in California a number of years ago. I was taken to a sandwich shop not too far from your humble abode, Derek, called California Sourdough. And there was a line of people all the way around the block at lunchtime, and the sourdough bread was divine. Fell in love with it. And I buy a lot of sourdough and Lidl and all this. Anyway, long story short, the mystery of making sourdough. Do you know how you make sourdough bread? No, you
I
haven't a
do,
clue.
yeah.
You don't go to the shop and buy a sourdough mix and then hey presto.
No.
You have to buy.
If your
You have to
starter.
prepare it. You have to
Yeah.
make your starter. So I've started. I have a starter now in the press. It's going to take another week.
Oh,
before
so
I
you
can
made
start.
your own? You put together your own starter?
I've put together my own starter. I
Ah.
googled all the different recipes and I deduced them down into what I think would be the most shortcutted approach I can take. And so by the show next week, I should have tasted my own sourdough bread. It's very exciting. Very exciting times.
But you know what? I miss bread in the sliced pan so much over here. They can have their sourdough. I just like me bread in the sliced pan, white sliced bread.
Well, can I? Bread in sliced pan.
Bread in along with a pint of Guinness are the two things I miss from home. Really.
Would you have a bit of hang on the bread? Bit of hang on the bread.
Absolutely.
Jesus, I'd murder sliced pan now. Actually,
I had a lovely hang sandwich yesterday, Derek, on Brennan's bread with potato crisps on top. I did. It's great.
There you go.
was a real butter. Come here. Just on the sourdough. Last week, you know the Pretzel Bakery in Dublin.
No.
Well, it's a very old bakery. It's just in just literally off Camden Street, and they were giving away the free starter. So I went down and one of the old Philly Keane followers actually tweeted me the picture of the sourdough she made, and she went to picture. I tweeted that they were giving away starters for anybody wanted to try sourdough, during the shutdown, and this lady followed up anyway, and they did their starter, and they actually the Pretzel Bakery, I'll put up the details anyway, but they'll also sell you that you can get I don't know if they still have the starter for free, but I'm sure they'll help you out. But they'll also sell you the stone ground flour as well. So I know there's a shortage of flour in the shop, so give it a go. But sourdough wouldn't be for everybody now.
Oh, the taste. But the one thing the sourdough starter smells of vinegar. Overnight it smells of vinegar. So
it's yeast. It's live. It's alive.
Yeah, it's alive. But you're told.
Is it something you'd keep going for years now?
Well, they say that once you have your starter and you keep it ticking over, it only takes a couple minutes every day, less than 5 minutes every day.
So did you just use flour and water for your starter? Or?
Flour and water. And now I'm not fancy. I have no mason jars. I only found out what mason jars are recently, believe it or not. So I don't have that fancy. I'm using the old Tupperware. And sure, this time next week I'll be able to say to you whether it was a success or a failure. Watch this space. Life is so interesting at the moment. It really is. Bread. We're talking about bread.
I told you to make your own bread.
Sure. I see. You can now you get the ready-made mixes obviously for bread because it's cheating. But McCambridge's bread was very popular. Do you get that in the States? I don't think you do, Derek.
No, not McCambridge's. No.
They have a mix now to make their bread. I tried that out as well. What are you watching? What are you streaming at the moment?
I watched that Tiger thing.
Oh, I hear that. Well, I saw something really good called Kim's Convenience. Have you heard of it?
No.
No.
It's about a Korean family who living in Canada, and it is laugh out loud hilarious. It's I don't know. It's like a mixture of I don't know, Victor Meldrew and Del Boy. Food and Horses. It's a cross between the two of those, which sounds like a strange mixture. But it's a conservative Christian Korean family who own a shop called Kim's Convenience Store, and they have a son and a daughter, and it's just looking at their interactions in their life. But it's literally laugh out loud from start to finish. Hilarious.
All right, and it's like they're based in America, are they?
Toronto, in Canada.
Oh, okay. Anyone we know in it?
No. no, I did. We just stumbled across it, and I think we watched for 8 episodes in a row. It was that funny. It was like it's really, really. It's just very, very witty, very clever. Kim's Convenience. Very good.
Okay. All right. But I did watch that tiger thing over the weekend.
And
What do you think?
I did get into it, but I could tell very early on that there was, you know, in one way it was very typical of every sad story. You know, there's a murder mystery and there's money involved, and but I stuck with it all the way through, and I did enjoy it. Now I absolutely did, and but at the very end, the very last show, I was just heartbroken for the staff when I saw that man that was the old animal keeper in his trailer with the bottle of vodka. Like, I was just heartbroken for him because he just took it so personally that, like, he was there saying about the tiger, about one of the particular tigers, and it was kind of going, oh, he trusted me. He relied on me, you know, and like, as in the animals. And I was just heartbroken for them. I don't think they'll ever recover. And that was the lasting thing. And I really did worry about the animals as well. When I saw the animals were going hungry, I just, Jesus, you know. But that was my last day. That stayed with me now. But like, it's definitely worth watching, everybody, and they're short shows. It's definitely worth watching.
you know, Trump was asked in a press conference.
Sorry?
As I said, Trump was asked in a press conference if he'd consider pardoning the guy in that who was arrested, and he said he'd look into it. It looked like he was saying it tongue in cheek, but it made it to a press conference.
Donald Trump press conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the sort of the footnotes afterwards, they were kind of naming everyone now that's been brought in and charged, like the other guy, the yoga guy. You know, that's down in Miami, is it?
Bikram.
Yeah.
There's a documentary on that up on YouTube, and that is wow, that's a bit of an eye opener to the world of Bikram yoga, his world of Bikram yoga.
Oh,
just the tiger stuff. The first episode I watched with my jaw wide open because I thought it was incredible the way he was able to treat tigers like they were like domestic, like little dogs, or you know, and how loving they were to him, and how much like it was like Dr. Dolittle, and that hooked me in, and I was going, this is amazing. But after that, I watched it through, but I thought it was painful. I thought just like white trash, just the worst of America, and I just didn't enjoy it. I was sorry that I followed it through, you know.
I know, I'm glad I followed it through, Derek, but it was just those staff that we could see early on that he had a tendency to hire loners and people that were considered outcasts, and their entire life revolved around him and their trailer there and the animals, and they were given a purpose, and they found a way of life, I suppose. But when I saw that that last show, like, it really did stay with me afterwards. I've no interest in Joe Exotic or how things work out for him or for his current husband or whatever, or the court cases, or how he gets on with the one that was suing him. I've no interest in their relationship or wherever that goes. It was just what the staff that they loved, and they were so committed. And in the end, he wasn't a feature in their lives at all. It was just them and the animals, and that's what really hurt me. Now, the other humans involved, I have no interest. I don't care what happens to them, to be honest. But that really stayed with me now, and I would recommend it watching. It was interesting to see a whole new world about that scene. I thought, do you know the guy that
like a Jerry Springer show? I felt a little bit like watching a Jerry Springer show, you know.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, but there was no animals involved. Like I really felt for the animals when I saw him taking the cub off the mother as they were just as he was born. Do you remember they had like a rake or something and they were pulling out the cub? Did you see that part, or did you stay with it for then?
Oh no, I did watch it all. I watched it all. I watched it to the end.
Yeah.
But it didn't have my full interest. You know,
Yeah.
it was on more than sort of I was paying too much attention.
Well, I think we kind of stuck with it as well, so we could see your man, to see what happened, how he ended up in prison, and you know. But there's definitely a drug scene there as well. You could tell that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two shows I'll give a shout out for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've talked about them before. On Netflix there is Hunters, or sorry, not Netflix, Amazon Prime. There's Hunters.
Oh, I've seen it.
With Al Pacino.
It's brilliant.
It's very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Inspired by a true story, based on a true story. And Netflix, there's Altered Carbon for the sci-fi fans, which is about the fact that you could live forever and what that means, where your consciousness is put into a new body and so on and so forth. And a bit of an interesting spin on what that would be like. So two things you can check out. I have a feeling we mentioned this before. There is the McDonald's. We did talk about the McDonald's documentary, The Monopoly Scam. I think we spoke about that on a previous. Everything is just blurry right now in terms of what's to watch and what not to watch. But they were the picks I had for this week for people to check out.
I mentioned last week Sunderland Till I Die. Did anyone check it out?
No, but I will. I must write it down again. Sunderland Till I Die. I will. So we have a whole
Derek.
bank holiday weekend now. We've Good Friday and Easter Sunday and Easter bank holiday Monday. So I'll have to find something to look at.
It's on the list, Derek. I have it underneath cleaning the oven and cleaning the bathroom.
Well, Pamela said to me last night, she was going, she was watching something Michael Bublé and his wife were talking on some social media, and Michael Bublé mentioned Sunderland Till I Die as being something that he's watching, or that they were watching. So that perked up Pam's interest in it as something to watch. So my recommendation wasn't good enough, but Michael Bublé said it. She got interested.
She was happy with it then, yeah.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, Derek, you need validation from your wife for any of your creative choices.
Say again. I missed it.
Nothing there, Derek. Nothing. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I think we're coming up. We're coming up to the hour. I'm looking to see if there's any papers posted. There's not. So, and there's nothing else that you just want to share.
Let me think. I can't think of anything. Straight off anyway. Trump, Derek. What's the feeling there? Do they, with Bernie pulling out of the Democratic race? What do we think? Has Trump reacted to that, or is there any feedback? I know everyone's is isolating and stuff, but is there any feedback on Bernie pulling out, or
I live in
what
California.
are Trump's chances anyway?
California is the left wing of the United States.
Yeah.
The Bay Area is the left wing of California, and Santa Clara County is the left wing of the Bay Area. So I'm in a complete little bubble here, like where I find it very difficult to find somebody who supports Trump. But I just saw opinion polls that have come out that have said that 51% of men will back Trump over Biden.
Oh.
Trump is leading, according to CNN poll. Trump is leading with men. It's 51-49 of men in the United States are going to vote for Trump
over Biden.
Nice. So what the world needs is women to come out and get behind Biden, because there's an issue with and white men is even more than that. I'm not sure what, I think white men are up into the 60s for Trump. Which is incredible. People, the polls are coming out that there's 45% of people think he's responding to the coronavirus well, that he's doing a good job.
Jesus.
That goes back to what I said earlier on, that in his press conference, every day he's on the telly, he says everything. He covers 25 different bases, contradicts himself 10 times, but he's able to say enough to give everybody of his base something to hang on to. And there is that sort of element of rallying around the flag as well a little bit, where he's calling himself a wartime president, and so we have an enemy, the virus is there, so we rally around the flag. So there is that. Trump has a very good chance of getting re-elected.
I think so. Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power.
It's fairly inevitable, I would say.
I think it's pretty inevitable now. It depends on who Biden picks as his running mate.
Yeah.
And we're assuming neither of them catch the virus, because they're both of an age that's quite vulnerable.
I wouldn't wish anybody, even Donald Trump, I wouldn't wish anybody bad by catching the virus. I wouldn't wish anybody harm or death.
Well, nobody does that. But nobody wants anyone to get sick.
Of course, but I don't think it would kill. I think Trump would survive it. I don't think
it would be scared to Trump.
It would be scared of Trump, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Well, on that note, I think we can leave it there for that. I was thinking of a new feature for next week. Perhaps that we can do a bit like the Jimmy Kimmel does the mean tweets thing. Perhaps next week we can read out all the comments from the site, all the lovely comments from the site as a feature of the show next week. Maybe that's something we can do. Anyway, on that note.
Oh, we all pick a comment that we like that was fun this week, is it?
We can pick out comments that look mean or not so mean.
That's a good idea.
Plenty
for us to choose from. Anyway, on that note,
I haven't read any comments yet on this site, so I sort of, I don't know if I'd like my little bubble burst,
Oh, you're in for a treat. So I know, Broadsheet, we love you all. I mean, we wouldn't be still there if we did.
Don't worry,
if we weren't one of you.
When you're having your avocado toast in California from your
sourdough,
you'd be grand. So just big thanks to the smaller panel. Big thanks to Vanessa, celebrity accountant in the Crumbling.
All right,
area.
Just before you say too much goodbye, everybody, this is kind of like a picture tray bake behind me, and you decide something that you can cut in, and this will be the type of tray. So everyone has something like that at home. And your sponge will look like that, and you'll decorate the top of it, and you'll cut it into quarters or thirds or fingers or whatever way you want.
Is a post going up on the site, Vanessa?
Well, I suppose I could, yeah.
You have to officialize it.
So it can be biscuit base, sponge base, it could be granola bars, as long as it's a tray bake, everybody. Okay, and there, look, I'm expecting gorgeous stuff.
It's a good night from Vanessa. Derek, all the way from sunny California. Thank you. So viewers, trolls, lovers and haters, thank you all for tuning in.
Lovers and haters, we love you all. We're one of you.
Hope to be back next week, and the mysterious John Ryan will hopefully return, make his return next week. Yeah, thank you all, and have a safe and wonderful Easter, and stay home. Good night from us.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.